Hi, my name is Trainmaster04, and today I've got another product review for you. And today it is Lionel's version of Kansas City Southern's Veterans Locomotive number 4006. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show.
Union Pacific 4014. Do you read me? Over. Roger that. Union Pacific 4014. I read you. Over. Start up and stand by. Over. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by.
To start off, let me first actually explain why Kansas City Southern actually took a normal, hard-working diesel locomotive and painted in this beautiful, complicated paint scheme, and also give a bit of history behind it. And then later after that, I'll get into the statistics of the model itself that you see right in front of you. So, let's get started. Why did Kansas City Southern take a hard-working locomotive and paint it in this wonderful paint scheme? Well, in short, Kansas City Southern, like UP, BNSF, and other major railroads, they wanted to show their respect to those active military men and women and those who are inactive men and women of the U.S. military. Now, reading off of Trains magazine and also a quote from the chief operating officer named Jeffrey M. Songer, he stated that with painting of KCS 4006, we wanted to demonstrate our patriotism for our country and our pride in U.S. military active duty and veteran employees, past and present, who are a part of the Kansas City Southern family. So, in other words, it is just a tribute to pay respect. Now, you may be wondering, what type of diesel locomotive is this? For those out there who do know what it is right off the bat, please give me some grace, and also give grace to those who do not. But for those who do not, it is actually a EMD SD70 ACE built in 2005. Now they have a better understanding on a bit of the history behind this locomotive, and also the reasoning why KCS actually went and painted this locomotive in this beautiful colors. Let me actually now get into the statistics of Lionel's model. Start off, this model was recently issued in the 2019 Volume 2 catalog, and these locomotives started showing up around January 16th of 2020. So, a good distance from when the catalog was released, but still a reasonable amount of time. Now, the length of the locomotive itself is 19 inches, and this then allows it to be able to run on a minimum curve of 0.36. Under the hood, this locomotive has two flywheel motors, and for the sound system, this locomotive also has the top-of-the-line Legacy rail sound system, as well as Legacy control and Bluetooth. So this means you can actually run this locomotive in an arrangement of ways. The first one being straight up Cab 2 control system or Legacy control system. The second way is using the Cab 1 remote control or TMCC control system. The third way is through Bluetooth via Lionel's Bluetooth app. And finally, the fourth way is via conventional control, which is a transformer and some track. Now that you have a better understanding on what this model is capable of, let me actually take a closer look and show you all of the wonderful separately applied and molded in detailing on this locomotive. Start off, taking a closer look at the pilot area of the locomotive, you can first see that right off at the bat in the front, here there is one of two operating electrocouplers. Now, in order to operate this, you have to actually either have the Legacy command system, the TMCC command system, or the Bluetooth system. You are not able to actually throw either one, the front or the rear electrocoupler, if you are using conventional mode. Behind the electrocoupler, there is a separately applied plow, and coming through the plow, there are two sets of three separately applied brake hose detailing. And one interesting thing about the plow that I really like is that the grab irons on the plow itself are painted white. Now, to me, that's really nice because that actually makes the model stand out because there's a whole lot of black in this area, and this little touch of white just makes it really pop. Now, above the plow, there is a separately applied coupler cup bar. And again, as you can see, the parts of the handle on the coupler cup bar are again painted white, and as I said earlier, it just makes the model really pop in my opinion. And finally, looking up above the electrocoupler, if you can see, there is another separately applied grab iron underneath the front walkway at the front of the locomotive. Looking up from the pilot area, first you can see the beginning of the locomotive's nose, as well as the front nose platform at the front of the locomotive. Now, looking at the platform itself, you can first see that there is a nice white stripe. And this white stripe actually does run along the length of the whole locomotive. Looking on top of the platform, there are two separately applied track lights, and behind the lights there is a separately applied handrail going down to both sides of these steps, which are painted white, and then also some black painted ones with a separately applied chain right in the middle. Getting a side angle of the front of the locomotive, here are the separately applied steps that I was talking about earlier, and also here is yet another separately applied handrail on the side of the locomotive. Now, something interesting that I haven't really seen on any other SD70 models from Lionel is that there are some warning signs on the locomotive sides on the steps. Now, to me, that's actually very nice because that tells me that Lionel is going out there and actually is putting a lot of effort into their locomotives and is not just producing some other locomotive with a fancy paint scheme. But besides that, here is some more white paint striping on the steps themselves. And looking at the nose itself, here is some separately applied grab irons. And also, besides that, looking at the obvious, you can first see the beginning of this beautiful blue and dull white starred paint scheme on the nose representing the starred and blue section of the US flag. And looking in the middle, there is a molded in door and also a KCS logo right at the middle of the nose. Looking on top of the nose of the locomotive, again you can see that there is the KCS logo and the blue and star striped logo or paint scheme, but more specifically looking at the nose and the front of the cab on this model, you again can see that there is some more separately applied hand railing and grab iron detailing, some ladder stanchions here, and also another separately applied grab iron or handrail on the other side of the locomotive. Also, there is some molded in detailing in the form of two sand caps for the sand boxes on this model, theoretically. And also, looking at the cab front, you can see that there are two separately applied windshields or clear or see-through plastic, and right in front of the plastic there are four separately applied windshield wipers. And then finally above the windshield there are two lighted number boards and a front headlight. Looking back down at the side of the locomotive, you can first see that here is the first set of two power trucks on this model, and on the trucks themselves there are a whole bunch of molded in detailing such as brake rigging and piping, but also there is some separately applied piping as well. Looking over here, there is a separately applied black painted bell, and looking up you can see the continuation of the white striping that you saw earlier at the front of the locomotive. Looking up from it at the cab area, there is a nice Kansas City Southern Lines logo, another builder's plate or insignia right there, the number 4006 stamped underneath the cab window. And speaking of the cab windows, there is some more clear plastic inserts as windows, and in between right here there are two separately applied windows that open and close, such as this. And inside the cab there are two hand-painted crew figures to give it a bit of a more realistic feeling. Moving on down from the cab, you can first see that here is the fuel tank on this model, which has a whole bunch of molded in and separately applied detailing, such as the tank itself, which actually holds the speaker for this model, and also two separately applied air tanks with some separately applied air tubing. Above that, here is the beginning of the walkway, which runs along the length of the locomotive. And also, on top of the walkway, there is a nicely done, separately applied handrail that, again, runs along the length of the locomotive. Now, looking above the fuel tank, something that I think, again, is very nice of Lionel to do is actually stamp fuel above the fuel tank. Again, I know that's a small little detail, and I shouldn't be, I'm kind of giving a bit of a big thrill about it, but you really don't see that in a lot of models. So I'm just kind of basically showing it off and showing that Lionel is actually doing a pretty good job on this model. But back to the model itself, and enough talking. Looking over here, here is some more warning signs and also some molded in detailing, such as these two panels. Looking on the engine itself, there is some more doors, molded in doors, grating, so forth, all along the locomotive. And on the paint scheme, we have now transitioned into the red and white stripes of the American flag. Coming towards the end of the locomotive, you can first see that we have now entered a region of a camouflage paint scheme on this locomotive, and right here there is a Support Our Troops logo right on around the middle of the locomotive section. And speaking of the detailing, there is a whole bunch of molded in detailing on the body itself, such as some more molded in doors. There is some more legible detailing here and here. There is some more grating work and vents, as well as a separately applied brake wheel. Looking at the walkway, you can see that the walkway now comes to an end and rounds around the corner of the locomotive at the end of it, as well as the hand railing, which ends to this point to another set of steps. Looking down at the trucks, here is the second set of wheel trucks that are again powered by a powerful flywheel motor. And on the truck side frames, you can see that there is again more molded in detailing, as well as some separately applied detailing such as brake hosing. Taking a quick look at the rear of the locomotive, again you can see that there is still a whole lot of separately applied and molded in detailing for me to show you. Starting at the rear pilot, you can see that here is the rear electrocoupler, which again you can throw via the cab 1, cab 2, or even the Bluetooth app. There is some more separately applied brake hose detailing on either side. Looking above there, there is another separately applied coupler cup bar, which again has the white paint on the ends of the handles. There are two separately applied grab irons, one on each side, and again are painted in white. Looking above there, here is the rear platform for the locomotive, which again has the white striping. And looking above the rear platform, here is the rear handrails for the locomotive. And also here are some more handrails that go on either side of the locomotive, which do go down the side of the ladder, or the steps on the side of the locomotive. And also, finally, looking at the rear of the locomotive itself, the end of it, there is some separately applied grab irons on both sides, as well as some separately applied ladder stanchions that go up from the platform to the roof of the locomotive. And finally, there is some molded in grate detailing and also a operating reverse light. Finally, here is a brief look at the roof of the locomotive. Starting at the cab, you can see that there is some molded in detailing such as these two white items, and also the continuation of the blue paint scheme around the cab. And something that's interesting that I did not mention earlier is that there's actually a separately applied sun visor over the cab window. Looking past the cab, there is some more molded in detailing in the form of these crane hooks right here and here, as well as these three ridges. Looking past the molded in detailing, here is the exhaust vent for this locomotive. Now, this locomotive does have a smoke unit in it, so in order to actually fill the smoke unit with smoke fluid, you just take a funnel or a pipette and pour the smoke fluid directly down the stack. Past the exhaust, here is a separately applied black painted horn, and also here is the radiator unit, which earlier I did mention that this radiator unit does come off. And again, it does reveal the run program switch, the Odyssey speed control switch, the Bluetooth on and off switch, and finally the smoke unit on-off switch. Finally, past the radiator unit, here is a separately applied vent, and inside the vent there is a separately applied metal fan blade. Now that you've seen all of the wonderful molded in and separately applied detailing on this model, let me actually start it up, give you a sampling of the sounds on this model, and then wrap things up by hooking some cars behind it and having some fun by running it around the layout.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? I copy that. Over. Please start up and stand by. Over. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out.
Now that I've got the locomotive fired up, let me actually start playing a few of the sounds for you. And to start off, here's the horn. Next, here's the bell. Here is the diesel fuel refill sequence.
Fill her up. My fuel's full. Over. Affirmative. Out.
Here is the diesel revs up. And then here is the diesel revs going down. And then finally, here is a sampling of the crew talk chatter. Now, I know a good amount of you do not like the crew talk feature on Lionel locomotives, but it is optional. So for those who do not like it, then you don't have to use it. But for those who do, such as me, it's still optional.
Dispatcher, am I cleared to the outbound? Over. Roger, your track is clear. Dispatcher, over. Thank you much. Cleared outbound. Out. This is the dispatcher. Please hold. Over. Acknowledged. Waiting on a clear signal. Out. Tower, looking for a clear. Can we move yet? Over. Roger that. Take the green. Over. Copy that. We have a clear signal. Out.
Here's one more.
Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over. Negative. Please hold. Over. Acknowledged. Waiting on a clear signal. Out.
Now that you've heard all of these sound features on this model, let me now actually hook up some cars behind it and then show you what it is capable of by running it around the layout. Now that I've got some cars coupled up behind the locomotive, but before I actually pull it out, I do want to mention that for those who have not been following my channel and have seen my other diesel-related product reviews, I do not have a large amount of modern era cars, just a couple, so you'll probably see primarily steam era style cars, so please do not give me a heartache about it since I do not have a large collection of modern era cars. But without further ado, let me show you what this locomotive can do around the layout.
Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over. Roger that. Take the green. Over. Thank you much. Cleared outbound. Out. Dispatcher, train is rolling. Over. Roger that. Keep it rolling. Out. Tower, are we clear through the next block? Over.
Acknowledged. You have a clear track. Over.
Yeah, thanks, dispatcher. Making good time. Out.
This is the dispatcher. All clear inbound. Over.
Thank you, sir. Approaching now. Out. Dispatcher, we're done for the day. Out.
Well, it's about time for me to end this video, but before I do, let me actually answer the two questions on how much does this model actually cost, and also, what is my personal opinion about this model? Well, to start off, the original MSRP price from Lionel is right at $600. Now, if you're interested in actually purchasing one of these models, you might be able to still get one of these from either trainworld.com or from Charles Rowe and get a lower price than the MSRP price. Now, I will leave a link in the description for both of those websites and also the product number for this model so that you have an easier time actually purchasing this model. Now that you know what the MSRP price is for this locomotive, let me now actually give you my personal opinion about it. Well, in short, this is just yet another great model from Lionel. Now, if you've seen a few of my other videos, you may be saying, I say that a lot. Well, yes, I do, but it is actually true. This is yet another wonderful model from Lionel. Yes, it's got a few quirks in here and there, but doesn't everything have its own little quirks that make it unique? Now, from the paint scheme point of view, and looking at it from the get-go, when I took it out of the box and so forth, I just fell in love with it. The reason being is because the paint scheme. It is just such a unique paint scheme that, in general, would really cost a lot to actually get right. And looking around it, I really did not find any paint blemishes or defects on the model. So, good job to you, Lionel, for actually producing a model of this great detail in the paint scheme and it not have any problems with it, since you've got to deal with all of these stars, the stripes and the flags, and even the camoing on the rear end. So thank you very much for producing this model. And if you are wanting one of these models, I highly suggest getting one of these, because if you have a modern era layout, then one, this would be a perfect model to add to your collection because A, it is a modern era diesel, but also if you want to build your patriotic heritage diesel locomotive fleet, then this would be a wonderful model to add to your collection. But overall, Lionel, good job, and for those who wants this model, I highly suggest it. Well, that about wraps up this video, but before you go, I just want to actually take a minute and say thank you for actually clicking on this video and actually watching it to the end. And also, if you are new to the channel, please click on the subscribe button, because then this will allow you to become a subscriber to my channel, and this will also allow you to no longer miss any of the upcoming product reviews, running sessions, or even videos just talking about trains in general from my channel. And while you're at it, could you also please press the like button if you actually enjoyed this video? This actually helps me understand that you enjoyed the video and also lets YouTube know that my content is actually worth something. But anyway, my name is Trainmaster04 and I'll be seeing you next time.